divorce suffer from lower self-esteem, anxiety, depression, less quality contact with their parents, their standard of living decreases. And a lot of times, these short-term effects actually linger into adulthood and have long-term effects. From the children whose parents were divorced in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And it was really high, the effect of divorce on children in the 70s, decreased in the 80s, and increased in the 90s again. So it's kind of perplexing. Divorce is common. It's less stigmatized. So why would the differences between children of divorced and non-divorced families be increasing? And Paul Amato, one of his suggestions was, well, maybe it's because the reasons for divorce are different than they used to be. When people got divorced in the 1970s, it was because there was a really bad marriage, right? Adultery, all these other things, and they really needed to get out of it. Today, people are getting divorced for personal happiness. When I ask my students, well, what do you think? They actually argue it's because children are closer to their parents now than they ever have been.
With divorce, a lot of times the child, first of all, has to deal with all kinds of emotions of attachment to both parents, of wishing that things were different so that their parents could be together. In most, if not all situations, no matter how difficult the household may have been when both parents were together, the child still wants the parents to be together.
I've been divorced for 5 years, and it's been the best part of my life, being divorced. Easily my favorite part of my life. I love being divorced. Every year has been better than the last. And it's the only time I can say that about. And by the way, I'm not saying don't get married. If you meet somebody, fall in love and get married. And then get divorced. Because that's the best part. It's the best part. Marriage is just like a larva stage for true happiness, which is divorce.
After peaking in the 70s and 80s, the divorce rate has been steadily going down over the past 30 years, which really reframes how we think about this old institution and might just give us new hope for how long it will last. The highlights of the study include the fact that marriages in the US are stronger today than they have been in a long time based on the divorce rate alone. 70% of marriages that began in the 90s reached their 15th year, up from 65% of those that began in the 70s and 80s. And marriages that began in the 2000s are now divorcing at even lower rates. And if that trend continues, get this, nearly 2/3 of marriages will never involve divorce. About some of the factors that are contributing to this, because people, it seems, are actually waiting longer to get married, In addition to the fact that more people are starting to use birth control and so not marrying because of pregnancy, which used to be a big driver of why the marriage rate was so high, they're also waiting and planning and taking longer to decide, which is helping. But it's also about changing gender roles, say the people who carried out the study. 2/3 of divorce are initiated by women, and it's possible that women are actually happier or at least more in control of their lifestyles and so are hanging on to their marriages longer. People living together before they get married, which is another common theme, are actually testing the relationship, which suggests that by sort of taking it out for a test drive for longer, which wasn't always socially acceptable in the decades leading up to now, is now actually saving those very same marriages. And those who are not divorcing might be passing on a more stable and healthier model of marriage onto the next generation, which means that for people who are divorcing less now, we might just be seeing that trend get even better in the future.